From the retro logo on midfield here in Seattle, where the 49ers are 36-24 victors, a gut check win at Lumen Field. We take a look at the big picture as I'm going to go into the locker room reaction because I just got out of the 49ers locker room. The big picture is that any championship caliber team needs to develop its grit over the course of a season. There's roster turnover every year. And in the case of the 49ers, I think that the job is actually tricky because they've played 60 games over the past 3 years. That's 20 games a season. Nobody's denying that they're tired. Nobody's denying that climbing the mountain again after they got so close to the summit last year, nobody's denying that's hard. But the way to do it is to find that infusion of young talent through the draft, which is what the 49ers did with this rookie class, and you have to find a way to make it mix with the all-pro talent that you already have. And to get to the level where you're firing on all cylinders, you have to go through the fire. And boy, the 49ers went through the fire against the Rams, against Arizona. They absolutely blew games that they should have won. And it looked right here on this field, as that third quarter was passing by, moving on to the fourth quarter, it looked like they were on pace to blow another one. Fred Warner was standing over on the 49ers sideline behind me, and he said that he was feeling the same thing. And he said that at that moment, we had a choice. And I told the guys, we could either let the same thing that's been happening to us happen again and lose again and go down to 2-4, or we can stand up and actually deliver the win this time, actually stop the bleeding. And that's what the 49ers did on this day. The theme in the locker room was the maturity of this rookie class. It is not easy to come into the NFL and deliver in a place like this. They say it's the loudest stadium in the league. This is what Lumen Field looks like. It is not easy to deliver in a stadium like this in front of a crowd as loud as today's crowd was when things are going against you. It's not easy to be a rookie counted on to stem that tide. But the injury situation made it such that the 49ers needed their young players to step up. Charvarius Ward couldn't play in this game. He tested out the knee beforehand, but they said, nope, we're going to trust our 2024 draft pick, Renardo Green, who delivered an interception that helped seal the game. Early in the game, because Talanoa Hufanga's on injured reserve, we saw an interception from Malik Mustafa. That was over in this corner of the field. Then he stumbled out of bounds. They're giving him a hard time about that in the locker room, but Malik still had the ball in the locker room from his first career interception. He's gonna put it up somewhere cool. You can check the video that I posted to see Malik talking about that. Then later on, we saw Isaac Guerendo sprinting down. That was this part of the field over there. That end zone. He was running toward it, and then he slid intentionally at the end to bleed more clock from the Seattle Seahawks. Guerendo, I mean, talk about rookie maturity. That's what I discussed right after this game. That's his first big run in the NFL. He only started one game in his entire college career. So to have the presence of mind, while obviously he's in a moment of excitement, the 49ers fans were taking up that entire side. You see that 12 behind me? That was almost all red with 49ers fans behind their bench. He's sprinting in front of them. They're roaring. To have the presence of mind to slide down before the goal line, that was big time from Isaac Guerendo. Now in the locker room, they're all yelling at Guerendo across the room saying, you should have scored. You shouldn't have let Juice get that touchdown, because Kyle Juszczyk ended up scoring on that end zone just a couple plays after that. So there's some good-natured ribbing in there, but talking to Juszczyk and then also talking to Chris Conley, this is what I'm going to write about on the San Francisco Standard. It turns out that they had a parents' weekend with all the rookies' parents coming to Santa Clara a couple weeks ago, probably before the Patriots game, where Conley, Juszczyk, and the veterans got to know the people who raised a lot of these 49ers rookies, and they were actually floored with some of the backgrounds, and they had a peek into the maturity that ultimately has been displayed on the field. It was displayed here in Seattle. You have to put all this in context. The 49ers used to fold in this stadium on a regular basis. They've now beaten the Seahawks in 6 straight games. They've now conquered this stadium multiple consecutive times. Today by 12 points at the end. I think they've won by an average of 2 touchdowns during this 6-game win streak over Seattle. And they had to get back on the track that would realistically lead them to Super Bowl contention. They weren't there after the game against the Arizona Cardinals, after blowing the lead to the Rams. But now they're back in first place in the NFC West after conquering a game which saw tremendous variance based on what the outcome would have been. If they would have lost, they would have been 2-4, it would have been bad. The margins are really thin in the NFL, but since the 49ers have won, they got an elite quarterback in Brock Purdy. I say it every week. I was the first to talk about how mobile he was last year. I don't think anybody is arguing with me now. Dodging traffic, moving around from sideline to sideline. I mean, just dart after dart after dart. They've got to figure out a more sustainable way to live in the red zone. I think a big part of the answer there is going to be Christian McCaffrey. But for the time being, Brock Purdy, the accuracy of that throw to George Kittle at the pylon, I thought he couldn't throw outside the numbers. It turns out that Brock Purdy can. Then he threw another dart to Kittle toward the end of the game. I mean, there was a play where, and I mentioned this on Instant Reaction, where both Kittle and Deebo Samuel were hurt. Kittle had to run into the locker room. Brock Purdy was able to deliver to Brandon Ayuk, where 2 of the 5 eligibles were Patrick Taylor Jr. and Eric Saubert. So they've got a quarterback that's going to keep them afloat no matter what. Then it's a matter of the other phases of the game, delivering the complementary football that's necessary to win a championship. How about when Fred Warner lit up Kenneth Walker today? Fred Warner looked offended that anybody would even try to enter his coverage on that 3rd down. That was an early tone setter as the 49ers were building a 20-point lead. Then there was the deep pass from Brock Purdy to Deebo Samuel. As Deebo, did Brock put that one out there, in the spot so that the safety wouldn't get it? And Deebo said, there's so much chaos on the field. I'm not sure if he was actually trying to do that, but you just have to have football players at some point. You have to have a quarterback who can throw when he's under duress, and you have to have a receiver who can go get the ball and score. And Deebo hit, I think, 20.7 miles per hour. He's one of the fastest ball carriers, receivers in the NFL. People don't realize that because he's a truck. The guy can absolutely move, and he put it on display on that play. We rewind to the rookie class. It was Dominic Pooney. I interviewed in the locker room. That's up as well if you want to check it out. It was Dominic Pooney who had the lead block on the linebacker ahead of Isaac Guerrero as he sprinted down the sideline. I'm sprinting down the sideline myself here at Lumen Field. So, all of these efforts were saluted in the 49ers locker room. As they should be, because they really congealed today as a team. Again, the kick coverage has to get better. That was inexcusable when they let Laviska Shenault on that long kickoff return. 20-point lead trimmed to a 13-point game, and all of a sudden the Seahawks had life. But we also need to focus on what the 49ers did well special teams-wise. The punt coverage was awesome. They got jobbed on the D. Williams fair catch that he dropped, that it obviously hit off of his finger where Conley got blocked into him, and for some reason the officials did not fix that play. That was a bad call, but guess what? You've got to overcome stuff that doesn't go your way, and that's exactly what the 49ers did on this field in Seattle tonight. They overcame and they delivered. 36-24, a massive win against the Seattle Seahawks, a franchise that's given them trouble in the past, but has given them trouble no more. And the 49ers are in first place in the NFC West. What a setup for San Francisco ahead of the rematch of the Super Bowl. That's coming on October, I believe it's October 23rd, right? Maybe a little bit, no, I think October 20th. It's coming in about 10 days. The Kansas City Chiefs will be in Levi's Stadium, and the 49ers will have a chance to make a truly resounding statement as this 2024 season picks up steam. I told people not to freak out over the course of this week, that these seasons are like novels and every successive week is like a chapter, and the 49ers just authored a really important chapter. It wasn't easy, but they managed the turnaround during this chapter, and that's what they needed moving forward. So we could call it 49ers football, torture. Never easy for this football team when they have to turn around those early season struggles, but they have a track record of doing so, and the rational way to follow this team is to not ignore that track record, to embrace it. And San Francisco now moves forward at 3-3 in first place in the NFC West. So long from Seattle. one more look at that logo. It's kind of far away at this point. I've got to go back into the tunnel at this point. Time to write. Go check out the article up on the San Francisco Standard. It'll be up later tonight.